Hello and welcome to this episode of the Star Wars Universe Podcast. In just a moment, we're going to be talking about Clone Wars Season 5, Episodes 6, 7, 8, and 9, on which the Jedi take the younglings on a field trip. But first, I want to tell a quick story and say thank you. You see, a year ago today, I was driving through Michigan on my way to a Magic the Gathering tournament that I was going to be a judge for. I used to spend an awful lot of my time going to these events 2 or 3 times a month, traveling all over the world, and I got the notification that the event had been canceled because of COVID-19. And so that was the day. Today is the 1-year anniversary of the day that, for me, the pandemic really began. I think for many people, this is that day, or that day is happening sometime this week. And I just wanted to say thank you. I've been podcasting for a while, but especially during pandemic, when I wasn't able to be part of the Magic community and some of the other things that I've been doing for so long, we were all trapped in our houses. Podcasting became a much bigger part of my life, both the recording itself, but also interacting with all of you, the fans, hearing your feedback, listening to your feedback, responding, getting into conversations with you, participating in things through Twitter and Facebook and on the Stranded Panda chat group. And it's honestly been a big part of what's helped me get through this very difficult year. And I don't think there's any silver linings to a tragedy like what's been happening. And this is, if there's any way we could have not had this year, of course I would have wanted that. But I've really been touched by the way that with so many of us stuck at home or going through difficult things, we found ways to come together around the stories that we love. And I think there's so many great creators out there. I'm so honored to be a part of what's happening at the Stranded Panda Podcast Network and the great creations that they're doing. There's many other great creators. And I'm just so honored that you all have allowed me to be one of them and to spend every week listening to what I have to say, listening to our guests talk about whether it's Star Wars or superhero ethics or MCU cast stuff or The Stand or whatever it is. You being fans has been a really great part of my life for the last year, and being able to create these things and make it a part of the interaction. And so I just wanted to say thank you. And that I hope that you have gotten through this year with whatever else has been brought into your life, and that these podcasts have added just a little bit of joy or a little bit of new thought. And that I hope that as we come out of this and we get ourselves vaccinated and we start to return to normal, we can still keep the wonder and the beauty of the little corner of fandom that we create through podcasts like this. Because at a time when we have so many reminders of everything that's toxic outside in our world, but also in our own fandoms, being able to create these podcasts and share with you not the toxicity, not the nonsense, but just the things we love. And again, to hear from you all what it is that you love about Star Wars and the MCU and these ethical questions and all of that, it has made my life so much richer, and I hope it does the same for you. So for all of that, thank you so much. I hope you find a way to get through this year and that things are going to start to get better. And now I want to bring you commercial messages that I have no control over. Welcome back. I'm Matthew, your host. I'm joined as always for discussions of the Clone Wars by Riki and Sarah. How are you folks doing tonight?
Hey.
Fantastic.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to diving into this. We've got some fun stuff to talk about, but I want to do 2 quick things of business first. First of all, this Sunday, March 14th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, we are having our first ever Star Wars Universe Podcast Trivia. It's going to be on Twitch. If you go to twitch.com, Stranded Panda TV, all that link will be in the show notes. You can find it. It's going to be a great trivia night. We'll have a couple of us on Twitch, on voice. All y'all can be in the chat. The questions will be in chat. You can answer in chat. You get points for speed. There's a great prize for first place, as well as if you've been taking part in the MCU cast trivia, points for this will go to that league, or you can just be a part of this and stand alone. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to laugh, joke around. Questions will be somewhat based on The Force Awakens, but also from all the Star Wars movies. So definitely check that out. It should be a lot of fun. And also, recently I launched a Patreon for this and the other podcasting projects I do, all under the name The Ethical Panda. I love doing these podcasts, not trying to get rich doing it, but there are some costs associated with it. It helps to have some support like that. And I've been so touched by the people who've already signed up for the Patreon. So to Nate Muzzy, Ashley Coffin, and Mary McCreary, thank you all so much. And everybody else, if you're thinking about, you love these episodes, you love what we do, you'd like to support a little bit, You can do it for as little as $3 a month. You get thanked. There's all sorts of goodies that can happen. You can get ad-free episodes. All you have to do is go to patreon.com and search for The Ethical Panda. So two quick business things I wanted to take care of. And with that out of the way, Riki and Sarah, let's dive into these episodes. What are our kind of overall thoughts?
Yeah, I thought this was a fun arc. It's nice to see some new characters in the form of the younglings who we get introduced to over the course of this episode, but we still get to check in on our regular band.
Yep. Now, for those folks who either haven't seen these episodes in a while or have never seen them and just want to learn about it following along with us, does one of you want to take a shot at summarizing the plot of this arc we get? Because really it's 4 episodes, but only 1 plot arc.
Yeah, well, I guess there's like 2-ish. So the first episode, called The Gathering, is Ahsoka and Yoda, as you mentioned, taking this group of younglings to Ilum to go find their kyber crystals. They learn about themselves. They grow as younglings. Find their crystals, and then
kyber crystals being the thing that you need to make a lightsaber.
Yes. Sorry.
Or a Death Star.
Or a Death Star, yes.
Or a Star Killer base, isn't that what it is? Anyway, so they learn lessons about themselves and friendship and all that stuff. And then heading back to Coruscant, it's just Ahsoka with them. She's like guiding them. They're gonna put their lightsabers together. They meet a robot who's been a droid who's been like thousands of years the sort of Ollivander of the Star Wars universe.
Yep. Voiced by David Tennant.
Okay, I saw him listed as like the guest voice. I was like, is that who it is? But he wasn't listed in the rest of the episodes. Anyway, that's amazing.
Hodor?
No. Riki has seen neither Game of Thrones nor Harry Potter. But but before they can actually get back to Coruscant, they're attacked by pirates who want the kyber crystals because the kyber crystals are worth lots and lots of credits. Those pirates are, of course, Hondo and his gang. Their attempt at stealing the crystals gets thwarted by the younglings and Ahsoka. However, the younglings end up on the ship and Ahsoka ends up on the pirate ship. So Hondo kidnaps her to Florum, where he's gonna sell/kill her. Who knows?
It's not quite clear.
And then the younglings come to rescue Ahsoka by pretending to be acrobats in a traveling circus. Then they end up teaming up with Hondo because Grievous and Dooku come to attack. So they team up with Hondo to get rid of the separatists. And then that leads us into the very first episode of the season where we meet up with Maul and Savage.
These aren't my favorite episodes. I do think they're a lot of fun. I think though that it's one of my favorite examples of where we both have an arc, but that has 4 fairly well self-contained stories. You know, the first one is just the younglings finding their crystals. The second one is the ship being attacked. The third is the younglings rescuing Ahsoka, and then the fourth is Hondo and them having to fight together. And it reminds me a lot of like what I was always told by my father about the movies he saw, you know, the serialized like Lone Rangers you'd watch every Saturday, that kind of thing.
Yeah, like it does feel very much like if you were watching this in syndication and you just caught one of the episodes, I don't think you'd be totally lost.
Right.
Or feel like there needs to be continued, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of glad they give it to us in order, because it would be entirely possible that these 4 would be out of order if it was in an earlier season, so...
True. And even the first episode that I sort of alluded to, that comes after this chronologically, totally makes sense on its own. They just reference these events, like Hondo references Grievous attacking his base on Florum, which is what's happening here, yeah. Exactly.
So let's start with the Jedi field trip. Ahsoka and Yoda take them to this cave. Ilum is the planet we learn, that's sort of where you go to get your crystal to build your lightsaber. And the conceit here is that the kids have to go in and find their crystal before the cave refreezes, or else they'll just be stuck in the cave forever.
And for one rotation, which is like 2 weeks, I think. Yeah.
I mean, which basically means they're going to die.
Yeah, probably.
not the safest of camp counselors here. Jedi field trips have some real danger attached to them, although we learned something a little bit about that at the end. And then they each get to have their own little adventure. I don't really love stories about little kids, so I didn't love this episode, but I thought it was cute. I think I agree with what you said, Sarah. I really liked getting to see the lore of, it's funny that you said the Harry Potter thing, although this, I believe, came first. It does have that very, like, the wand chooses the wizard, that the crystal chooses the user, which I really liked and responded to.
Yeah, I mean, this was 2012, so we had the Harry Potter books.
That's correct, yeah.
Before this. But yeah, I mean, it feels like a very sci-fi fantasy trope.
Well. J.K. Rowling did not invent that, certainly. Definitely not.
But yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily mind storylines about kids. The only thing that really bothered me was, I think, Katuni, she's like kind of the leader of the group. But she's acted with this, like, it sounds like the actor has a head cold. And like,
yeah, it's like I couldn't tell if the character's supposed to have a lisp or just supposed to have that, like, little girlish voice. I didn't quite get that.
Well, I think it's just, like, so, I guess, like, what's the opposite of nasal? Like, she's not breathing through her nose, and she's talking like this the whole time. And it just, like, I mean, it's a choice. It's fine. But it, like, there is something so, I don't know, weirdly visceral that just, like, makes me go, like, ugh, whenever I hear people who have colds talking, just in general. Like, that feels uncomfortable to hear.
Yeah.
But that was my only big gripe, I guess. I thought it was neat. The human boy, whose name I definitely am not actively looking up right now because I remembered it the whole time. Pietro. Petro? Yeah.
Pietro's from a different story that we discussed recently.
I also have Pietro as a villager in my Animal Crossing village. Anyway, yeah, Petro is like, just like full cocky, like, we don't need rules. And at the end of this episode, he learns to, like, be less cocky. I see be less of a butthole was, like, my lesson. But then, like, the following episode, he's, like, right back at it. Which I liked, because it's, like, this little kid arrogance, which I think really meshes well with the Anakin Ahsoka line of teaching. Yeah.
There definitely was a, after school special, everybody gets a special lesson. Each crystal, the kid who's afraid has to learn to conquer his fear. The one who is impatient has to learn to be patient. It was all just set up very perfectly like that. Now, at the very end, it does seem to be, is the implication at the end of that episode that Yoda's saying, like, of course we weren't going to let these kids freeze to death, like, we can break through this wall if we need to?
Oh, definitely. Like, there's
okay.
Zero way they're just gonna, let children freeze to death. That's not... But you have to let them think that they're gonna freeze to death, right? Like,
well, I think it says something about what we know about the Jedi is that I fully believed it as the viewer. Like, I was like, oh, okay. Ahsoka and Yoda are willing to off a couple younglings. Like, it's tough in the big leagues, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming I don't think they'd let them die. I don't think they'd let them proceed with their Kyber crystal ritual. Like, you'd probably get bumped back down to Jedi level. I don't really know how it works, but yeah. Yeah, I liked that they tacked on the, like, we wouldn't actually murder children.
Riki, what was your thought on this episode?
How did Yoda get there?
The Force.
How does he leave? Does he have his own ship? And why? Because when Ahsoka and the younglings get there, Yoda is he's inside the chamber waiting, which Ahsoka and the others have to open with the Force.
Right.
So he got there, opened the chamber with the Force, closed the chamber so that they would have to open it again. And then at the end of the episode, they don't all leave together because the next episode, Yoda is not on the ship that gets attacked by the pirates. So he just kind of, came on his own? It was weird. I don't know. I noticed weird things like that.
I think that was one where the writers just were like, they'll figure it out.
And then Yoda appears.
It honestly, like, it feels pretty on brand for Yoda to just be like, dramatic effect, I will.
Yeah, that's well put.
Right? Like, I could totally see Yoda doing exactly what you described, like opening up, using the Force, opening it, closing it again, sitting in the little cold ice.
I wouldn't put it beyond Yoda to have gone in and like set up all these traps and stuff, because one of the younglings finds their crystal in like this very scary, like fire breathing statue thing, right, in the ice. It's like, what is that doing there? Like, Yoda must have built it.
Yeah.
And then there's like other kind of trap like things. So I think he set up like this house of ice horrors and came early to do it. You think
Yoda made that X-Wing sink deeper into the swamp, don't you?
Probably.
He's got a bit of showmanship. I can believe that.
Yeah, and he's got that laugh, like,
The only thing from this episode that I also wanted to comment on is there's a line at the very beginning when the narrator is giving the introduction, and they talk about how, these younglings who are taken from their families and their true family is now the Jedi Order. I was just like that. Cult. That's straight up propaganda, and it to me is a nice reminder that they never really go into it much. But I think by now we're really supposed to understand that this is very much a like unreliable narrator. Like, this is the voice of I think it's Admiral Yularen is the actual person who's the narrator, and that he's supposed to be like, this is the official story you're getting from like Republic Radio. It's not meant to be like the uber narrator of the story.
Yeah, for sure. Although, like, we do get episodes where he knows things that Admiral Yularen has no right of knowing, but
that's true.
I mean, I could see it being like a retelling in retrospect situation, right?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
We haven't seen Yularen in a while.
Yeah.
I don't think he appeared at all in definitely like the last season.
I mean, we haven't seen a lot of the Republic in a while. Like, we've been off exploring
we haven't
the galaxy.
I don't think we've seen Padme at all for quite some time.
Yeah.
We barely see Anakin this episode. So this next episode, we do get introduced to the droid, who I just thought David Tennant was incredibly charming. I loved him in this. I loved him being the kind of like, he's very supportive of all of them, but he's also a little bit chiding them. One of the eager young students thinks he's built a lightsaber and it would actually blow up in his face, which of course winds up being Chekhov's lightsaber that will blow off in his face.
Yeah, that's Petro, right? Learning nothing from his lesson about being cocky the previous episode.
No, it's definitely Petro. It's definitely having a fun moment there. I thought this was probably a fun episode. I really appreciated what you said. I actually have in my notes, # not my Hondo.
Yeah.
In this, Hondo is just very... He at one point says, like, bring me these kids dead or alive, and I wrote, like, Hondo would never say that. It seemed like they sort of decided for one episode that Hondo needed to be scarier. And I was just like, okay, that's that. I think what you meant to have was Cad Bane here, because that seems like what Cad Bane does. That's not what Hondo does.
Yeah, exactly. I'd say 2 episodes. Like, the next episode where he's dealing with Ahsoka is also
that's true.
Weirdly scarier than he has a right to be. Hondo, like, yeah, I completely agree with you. Like, one of his crewmates even calls him out on it and is like, "You really want us to kill these kids?" And he's like, "I'll do anything for money."
Yeah.
Which is like, what? And then even in the final episode, when they're teaming up together, Hondo says something about, like, I don't like seeing children go into battle. And Ahsoka's like, didn't you just try and murder them like a day ago? And he's like, no, today I like children. So I feel like we even get the writers, like, being like, yeah, that was maybe a little too much for Hondo.
Yeah, I thought that was I thought that was like some rogue writer got in and wrote in like bad Hondo, and the later writers like, no. Like that's bad, like
bad Hondo is not canon. Yeah.
And maybe they thought that he was becoming a little bit too much of like just always their buddy, and they wanted him to be a little scarier again. But it didn't work for me. I was like, that's Cad Bane. That's someone else.
Yeah, well, especially the like straight up like, I am okay with you killing these children. Like, that is, I mean, obviously not verbatim, but that's what he says. Like, I will kill these kids for money. Which just seems, like, I think you could still have him boarding the ship and being like, oh, hey, Ahsoka, give us the crystals. And they can still be like, no, you can't take them from us. And the plot can unfold in the same manner without Hondo saying that he's cool with murdering some children.
Like, to me, Hondo Hondo at his best should be the sort of model for anyone who wants to play a rogue in a D&D party.
Yes, yeah.
Like, you're going to be a scalawag, you're going to be a scoundrel, but you're still not going to, like, actually kill people. You're going to be a good person. You're just going to, like, have as much fun being a schmuck, being a scoundrel as much as you can.
Yeah, like a neutral good, sort of.
Well,
yeah.
He's what Han Solo originally was modeled as, right?
Mm-hmm.
But even Han shoots Greedo and establishes, like, I will kill someone.
Yeah, and I'm okay with Hondo killing people, I guess. Like, I'm even fine with him doing a Captain Hook sort of shooting one of his own men because he doesn't like his singing voice. But just, like, yeah, the like, let's kill children felt weirdly off-brand. And then isn't, like, addressed 2 episodes later, and he's just like, meh, today I like kids. That's fine. Like, that sort of cavalier Hondo of, like, I care about money, I'm gonna steal a bunch of stuff, gonna be, like, charming and humorous along the way. Right.
There is a moment in the last episode with Hondo where he kind of connects a little bit with one of the younglings and is kind of, like, giving, like, you know, a wink and a nudge and, like, glad that the youngling is doing okay. And that was more like, to me, okay, that's the Hondo I know.
Yeah, and then even, like, at the end, though, he, like, one of the younglings... Oh, I might have this wrong. One of the younglings is, like, there, but the rest of them aren't, and Hondo's like, you can come with us, but we're taking off. Like, you're on your own, and that seems also on brand of, like...
Yes.
I don't really care that much about y'all. Like, I don't want you to die horribly. Thanks for helping me defeat Greedo. If you want to come, you're welcome to come. We'll be, like, a fun pirate family. But I'm not gonna, like... risk everything to save you guys.
She should join the gang, right?
100% should.
Is that the spin-off? Like the post-Clone Wars spin-off is she survives Order 66 and like finds Hondo and joins the gang?
Why has no one made that video game?
I like Hondo. I love Hondo so much. Even like drunk Hondo watching Circus Act felt...
That was a lot of fun. That was definitely a lot more fun.
Yeah.
There's a scene early in this where the kids are just sort of futzing around with their lightsabers. And so here's a question I've always had. Like, the kids talk about wanting to duel with lightsabers. Do lightsabers have a safety feature of any kind? Because my understanding is that they don't. And so, like, I never, I get that, like, when you practice fighting by using practice swords so that, like, if someone gets a lucky blow in, you don't decapitate your student. How do people actually practice with lightsabers? Especially, how do kids do it?
That's what the
training droids?
Yeah, the robot spheres are for.
Okay. So when they talk about wanting to duel with each other, that's just, like...
No, yeah, you shouldn't.
Well, you should.
That's, like, advanced.
So maybe, so the kids playing with guns, it's a bad idea. Again, the camp counselors at Youngling Camp are just maybe not doing the best job.
Well,
that's okay.
Yeah, like, this is when Ahsoka is fully not on the ship. They only have, like, the severed head of David Tennant bot.
But I didn't get the sense that they were thinking, like, oh gosh, the cat's away, now the mice can play with the lightsabers. It sort of felt like, well, yeah, we're kids. We fuck around with our lightsabers. That's what we do. We screw around with our lightsabers. That's what we do. That confused me a little bit.
But they've had lightsabers before, presumably. Like, these are their lightsabers. But we've had scenes in the past, I think in the movies, where Yoda... Well, yeah, like the younglings that Anakin supposedly kills at the Jedi Temple... I think there's an earlier scene that establishes that they are being trained with lightsabers by Yoda. So I think that they have maybe like training lightsabers that are for loan, I guess.
Yeah, or at least like this is not their first time holding a lightsaber.
Yeah.
And also none of them looked directly It's like none of them pointed it at their eyeball when they first got it, which I think is a good sign.
I'm just saying, I feel like if you told me that a bunch of 10-year-olds were practicing sword fighting with live steel, I'd have a problem, and I feel kind of the same way here.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I agree that I don't think it's a good idea. And they are like, we should practice, and they all like fire up their lightsabers, and then like Katuni's the only one who hasn't built hers yet because of her character flaw, which I guess is like nervousness. I don't know. But yeah.
One thing that happens during this is that part of why they get captured is because our friends in the Republic Navy can't come to their rescue because Obi-Wan is fighting this big space battle with General Grievous. We've all had complaints about the way that those space battles are done, and I kind of love that here it's just the distraction. It's literally like the B plot instead of being the A plot, and I thought it made it much more palatable.
But it was a good B plot.
Yeah, it was well done.
Yeah.
Even though I still don't understand like how these fights happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so part of the plot is that Grievous boards Obi-Wan's flagship.
Right.
Which apparently I'm looking at the summary right now. It's called the Negotiator, which is a terrible name for your warship. You're not negotiating anything. See, the Empire gets it right. They have like terrifying names, like Devastator. Oh, look, it's the Negotiator. Unless it's like the Fifth Element, you're just like, does anyone else want to negotiate?
Yeah, it feels like a fun, ironic name, like someone naming their sword the Peacemaker.
Yeah.
It's like,
There you go.
But Grievous boards it, and then they have to abandon. Why? Like, these are space warships. Like, just shoot each other and blow each other up. Like, what's with all the boarding?
See, the only reason why I don't mind is because it leads to what is, I think... Now, the bar for this moment is high, but this might be the most extra, sassy, snarky, for no good reason Obi-Wan moment we get in the series. At least it's one of them. Because Obi-Wan sets his ship to self-destruct. And he knows that Grievous is on board the ship. There's a good chance that Grievous will just be on the ship when it self-destructs. No more Grievous. End of the Clone Wars. But Obi-Wan takes the time to record a message to tell Grievous, I'm blowing up the ship. Just so that Grievous can figure this out and get away.
Yeah, he books it.
It's such
to his ship, like knocks over a bunch of droids along the way, and they're like, "What? What's going on?" He's like, "Out of my way!"
Like, if Obi-Wan were to ever become a villain, he would be the most monologuing monologuer who had ever monologued a monologue.
Oh yeah.
Because that's what he does. He monologues Grievous. Grievous figures out his plan and escapes. It's so peak Obi-Wan, and it's so snarky, and it's so dumb.
But it was funny. Like, Obi-Wan got that good, he got that comeback line in. That's what matters.
But is that, like...
I mean,
is that
in Obi-Wan logic, if you can extend it,
Yeah.
Okay, so the war goes on 6 more months, 50,000 more clones die, but I got a good snark line in. It was worth it.
Is that any worse than what usually happens on Star Trek, which is either that the computer voice is counting down, or there's, like, a countdown on a monitor. So, like, you see the monitor, and it's like, 10, 9, you're like, oh, the ship's gonna blow up.
I think this is worse because at least on like the Star Trek, the computer counting down is like presumably a safety filter built in so that the crew knows to abandon ship. Whereas this is, just Obi-Wan getting his sick rubbins. Like, this isn't a pre-recorded message of like, hey, everybody, the ship is about to self-destruct. Please get to your nearest escape pod. This is like, he even plays it as though it's like a live hologram. Like, it's the kind of, like, voicemail message of, like, hey, how's it going? I'm not here right now. Leave a message, right? Like, that's the vibe.
Yeah.
So it's just full-on Obi being a giant pile of sass. And I love him for it, but I do agree that it was a dumb move.
At least, like, Captain Kirk, like, he doesn't call up, Klingon Christopher Lloyd and, like, mock him. He just, like, lets the Enterprise blow up, It's...
I thought he did mock him. That's like Search for Spock, right?
He only does it at the very end, like when all the Klingons don't get a chance to escape. They figure it out when it's like 2 seconds left.
Christopher Lloyd was the Klingon?
Yes. He's the Klingon captain in Star Trek 3.
Is this like pre-Worf looking Klingon?
No.
No, this is when they look like warfish.
Huh.
Anyway,
Yeah.
We're going way down on a tangent now. It's entirely my fault.
It's all good.
But I just needed to name that peak Obi-Wan moment. So I think those are the big things I wanted to talk about from this episode. Any other from these episodes? What other comments did you all want to make?
I guess there was another like out of character Hondo thing that I kind of wanted to talk about, which is how he treated Ahsoka after capturing her. And it was just like gross, like and like kind of rapey, and I didn't like it.
How so?
Well, cause he was just like, she was captured, in like some weird like stasis light tube. And then, he was just kind of like talking about like what we're gonna do with you. And he's got like his 2 pirate ladies like hanging off of his arms. And it's just like, it felt not like Hondo, who should just be like joking with her. And even like, I'm okay with him like ransoming her, I guess. But I would want Hondo to like ransom her to the Republic and be like, hello, give me money for your Jedi back, please and thank you. Like, instead of like, I might kill you, but I might just sell you to whoever is the highest bidder.
Yeah.
And like, ooh, a female Jedi, right? Like
that line especially was a little creepy.
Yeah.
There's a line at the very end where Hondo basically presents Obi-Wan with a bill for helping to rescue the Jedi.
Yes.
And like that to me is exactly what that's the kind of thing I think you're talking about. Where it's like, yeah, I'm going to get as much money about this, and I'm going to lie and cheat and steal. But he always has this basic respect for Ahsoka. They've been through the wars together. They've fought together. They've done things together. You're right. That line also just was very much another hashtag not my Hondo kind of thing.
Yeah, and even like the way Ahsoka reacts to him. This is the previous episode when he's boarded the ship and like he and Ahsoka are sort of battling face to face. She's just kind of like, Hondo, come on, what the heck? Like, you used to be cool, man. What happened to cool Hondo? And he's just like full villain, and it doesn't suit him despite him being a ruthless pirate, right? Like,
here's what I think happened. In the previous season, we had that whole Cad Bane bounty hunter arc where they try to kidnap Palpatine, Chancellor Palpatine. I think after that incident, Cad Bane like overtook Hondo as like the #1 most wanted in the galaxy. And then Hondo didn't like that. And he's like, I gotta get my rep up.
Yeah.
Or down, whichever. I gotta reestablish my crook rep.
Like, I think part of the story they were trying to get to was that, you know, Hondo is finding that he can't really afford to have his happy-go-lucky attitude anymore because things are getting a lot more cutthroat and he's losing money. But I feel like there's a way to tell that story where, you know, he says dead or alive, and then one of the, you know, guys looks at him and goes, "Boss, are you sure?" And you can see him just hating it. He's like, I don't want to do that, but that's, we have, you know, something like that, instead of it just being, oh no, today I hate kids, tomorrow I won't, who knows.
Yeah, exactly. And like it does, I mean, these are the only 2 episodes I think where Hondo really has this weird out of character moment. Like the rest of the series of Clone Wars, I absolutely love him. Despite him being a pirate and a rogue. But I don't know, it's just weird. I feel like the final episode of this arc does a good job of kind of walking that back with just his interaction with Ahsoka when they're teaming up. He has, like you mentioned, he's got some really nice moments with the kids. Like he asked to see their lightsabers, right? He's like, "Oh, you have your kyber crystals, show me now," and to like kind of bolster their confidence. Like he's got fun Uncle Hondo vibes.
Yeah.
When like
show me your dangerous weapons.
Right? But whereas like 2 days ago he was going to murder them for those weapons. Yeah. Right? And and even just his whole like, today I like kids. I'm a pirate. I'm fickle. But I think this like leads nicely into the next episode chronologically, which is the first episode we talked about, which has his like glorious line of, I've been betrayed. I'm so proud. Right? Yes. Like that's we're getting back into normal Honda. But yeah, that's
Honda. Yeah, we get Hondo back. I think just whatever happened in the writers' room, boy, we can forgive it. He's a great character. They had some bad moments,
Yeah.
Sometimes you put nipples on the bat suit. We just ignore it and move on.
That was like my first introduction. I mean, other than Adam West, like those George Clooney Batman is like the Batman of my childhood.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, so I think that's a good, not a long conversation today. There wasn't too much in these episodes, but I think they were fun. Like, I think we're now at a point where these are the weaker episodes in the season, which to me really says a very good thing about the season. Like, these aren't the ones that are super intense explorations of the dark side. There's not like tons of emotion, but they're just fun. And we learn some cool things, and we get some great character moments, and that to me really tells me the show is really hitting its stride now.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
The next set.
Also, okay, that's also true. We do have a little bit of a rough patch coming up. That's for those of you who haven't seen the next episodes, just
buckle up.
If you have a good drink or some ice cream near you, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
But it's, I think, I get what you're saying. Like, these departures, I think this arc does it much better than the arc that we're going to be talking about next week.
Yeah.
And we can, I think, go farther into depth then as to why this worked and that one didn't.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, this works because it gives us some of the stuff that we as Star Wars fans are thirsting for, which is, here's a little tidbit about the Jedi and how they make their lightsabers, where they get the crystal, the kyber crystals from. Like, this is like deep lore type stuff that we have all wanted to know for our entire fandoms.
Mm-hmm. And there's more than one character that speaks.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is also important, as much as I love R2. Yeah.
Definitely.
And like, but we do have a couple, like, Gungi is a Wookiee.
So the little baby Wookiee Jedi. I thought that was a really nice thing. And even though, like I said, I'm not a big fan of after school special kind of kids episodes, they're relatively painless, and you do get an interesting mix of them. And it's nice seeing just how they interact and the different personalities and things like that.
Yeah, there's a good mix of races in this group of younglings, gender, and I think, like, as characters, they were very well established quickly, and this could have easily been the jumping off point for, like, a spin-off, like a Jedi Academy type series where you follow the adventures of these younglings as they learn and get more of that deep Jedi lore.
I mean, I'm on record that if we're going to get Jedi Academy, I want them to be teenagers, because I want it to do like Gossip Girl CW, Riverdale style, but I know that's not what everybody else wants.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, and that they are a little, I mean, they're childish, they're children, of course. And we get to establish their characters so quickly, because they're quite tropic, but, like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, especially because like we do. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's fine because you can just use these quick shorthands to be like, this is the nervous one, this is the cocky one, this is the tech guy, right? And like, we're good. We don't need like a deep dive into their histories, because we're only really going to get to know them over the course of like 3-4 minutes before we're like into this big storyline. Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, great. As always, folks, thank Riki and Sarah. Thank you all so much for this. People listening, let us know what you think. You can find us on Facebook or Twitter at The Ethical Panda. On Twitter, it's Ethical Panda 77. But if you just search for The Ethical Panda, you'll find us there. You can also go to theethicalpanda.com, our website, to get all the information about this podcast and the others I do, including superhero ethics, as well as going to strandedpanda.com. That's our podcast network where you'll find episodes of this podcast, as well as others on the MCU, DC Universe. We did a whole long series on WandaVision. We just put an episode on the ethics of WandaVision on the Superhero Ethics Podcast. Lots of great stuff there. Please remember, this Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern on Stranded Panda TV at twitch.com. That's where you can come to the Trivia Night, Trivia Day. It's going to be a lot of fun. Join in, whether or not, even if you are not like someone who loves trivia or knows a ton about Star Wars, it's going to be a fun way to hang out on Twitch and have a good time. So please come and check that out. Thank you all so much for listening. Have a great day.